Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. Sonia, will you take roll call?
Commissioner Shaw?
Here.
Commissioner Dittel?
Here.
Commissioner Wire?
Here.
Commissioner Corbin?
Here.
Mayor Denner?
Here. We have the agenda in front of us. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved. I'll second that.
Any further comments or discussion? Not hearing or seeing any. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Is Luke here yet? He called me, said he was going to be in. We'll move down to the consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved. Second.
Any further comments or discussion about the consent calendar? Not hearing any. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We'll move down into the unfinished business. Item number 1. Brad, do you have anything, updates on provide direction to the staff regarding 2021 opening of the MAC?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the Commission, City Administrator. I met with the consultant today, and we went over the items that we had to have covered in the bid and looked at all the different items one more time and went over everything. He intends to have the plans done, hopefully by the end of this week. We're hoping to get a copy of the materials list so that we can work on procuring the materials ahead of time and get those coming so that we don't have to wait for the process of awarding a bid to somebody and get the materials coming. We'll see if we can shorten things up. I haven't got the list yet, so it's going to be kind of a dead heat between the list and the plans, and then we're going to have to shop the plans and see what we can get for quotes on the work. It's all going to happen hopefully early next week and get that stuff back in as soon as possible, and have to give the contractors some time to put their quotes together, but we'll try to push for it before the end of the week so we can have it for the following Monday's award, which would be, was it June 7th, whatever that meeting would be. I forget the exact date, but that's what we're hoping for.
Okay. It sounds like we're going to buy the equipment separate and then bid out the labor.
We're looking into that as an option to see if we can shorten up the process.
Okay.
If we can get the materials list, that gives us at least a week. If we get the materials list at least a week before we could get any quotes back for the labor.
Okay.
And so we're hoping that we can try to get a week's head start on procuring the materials.
And we've settled with the insurance company, or are we still doing that?
We've got everything. He just sent one today. I didn't get a chance to open up the email and read the last little bit. The last thing that was left was primarily the lighting and how much they were going to cover on the lighting. And so we do have, in a form of an email agreement, if you will, of what the insurance company is willing to provide for. It'll be compensation, if you will, after the fact for any improvements that we make. And we're going to have to spend substantially more than what they're going to cover. They did take depreciation out of it, and I believe they put it at, gave it at a value of 60 some odd percent, 64, 65% of current value. So they did give us a pretty decent value on it. They didn't cut it back too far as depreciation. So, but we're still going to have to make up the other 30 some percent plus the difference in cost from what, their estimate to what it's really costing. So, and as every time we're down there, we find more and more things that kind of make us scratch our heads, because we're looking at the motors today down in the pit, and I hadn't noticed it the first time, but there's a butterfly valve on the main pump, and it's on a VFD, but the butterfly valve is cranked about halfway shut on that. I'm kind of wondering why that was. With a VFD, you should be able to slow the motor down to where it doesn't cavitate, and you don't have that. So once we get this fixed and we get it going, we need to have some pretty good goings over on the operations and how that should run to get the most efficiency out of that, so that we're not consuming electricity just to push water against a valve and not do any work. Generally when they do that, it's to stop cavitation. But with a VFD, you should be able to slow the pump motor down enough to where you don't cavitate anyway. So I'm not sure why there was, the valve coming right out of the main circulation pump was turned about 40 degrees or so. So it was a pretty significant amount that it was, blocking the flow. So I'm not sure what's going on there, and we'll have to go through all that when we get it up and running. And so.
Will we develop some sort of maintenance-based structural system so that we don't have something like this happen again?
The intent is that in the overall redesign of this, which would come next spring, is that we'll have it designed in such a way that it can't happen again. I mean, that there's just physically not going to be a way for the vapors to get back into that part of the building and cause that problem. And there's two reasons for that. The main one, obviously, is the corrosion issue we had right now, and the fact that it's a kind of a maintenance problem trying to get to the fan motors and the belts that run the fan motors. As my guys told me, you're standing up on top of these little stringers. There's not a deck up on top of the mezzanine, so it's just stringers that go across. And you're standing on the stringers trying to get to this belt, which is on the opposite side where you can't get to. They just said you got two options. You can either look at it or you can reach it, but you can't do both at the same time. So you have to do it blind and change the belt blind. And so it's just not a very easy system to maintain and keep the maintenance up on it. So we'd like to switch that around, make those the inlet, put new fans on the outside, and make it so that you access it from the outside. And the second reason for that is that from the chemical standpoint, the chlorine room is there. It's about 15 feet from a pit that's about 10 feet deep. Chlorine being heavier in air, we don't want that gas to ever be able to come out and get in that pit. So if somebody was down in there, somebody opens up the chlorine room door, that chlorine gas comes out, drops down into that pit, and that person in the pit is in trouble. And you would never, having been trained in confined space entry, nobody would ever dream that that is a confined space. But because of the hazardous chlorine in that area, I would define that definitely as a confined space. And it's not placarded, it's not anything listed. So it's something that if we can eliminate that hazard in the future, then we won't have that confined space issue. And so that's one thing. And then again, we did verify that there is no other makeup air for that system, and so it is pulling the air in through the exhaust of the boiler.
So inevitably this probably was going to happen. It just unfortunate it happened on the year that we didn't open the pool back to back.
Yes, and there is like I said, they did have a system to evacuate air from it, but it had its own fan and its own source sized to the same size. So even if that would have been operating, they would have been kind of fighting against each other to get enough air into the system. So there was no dedicated makeup air to the chemical rooms, and that's what we're going to fix at the end of the day. And then we'll make it so it's isolated from the rest of the building, is my humble opinion. The only fly in the ointment we found today when we were talking about it was for because there's muriatic acid in there and there's an acid there, is the eye wash station. Where do you put the eye wash station? Because if we make it so that you can only enter that room from the exterior, then you have to have an eye wash station within so many feet of that, and it has to be there. So that's something we'll have to figure out what we got to do to make that work for safety.
To put two in?
Yeah, then we may end up having to put a second one in. There might be one right inside the room, if that's what we have to do. And so we're got to fix that, as part of that. That'll be in next year. The only thing we're going to do right now is fix the electric system, get everything up and operational and safe so we can operate the pool. And then we'll do the cosmetic fixes and the long-term fixes for the makeup air and all that on a follow-on project.
It'll be done right. That's what matters.
Yes. And we had a real good conversation that one of the bold print items that's going to be on the plans is that every single ground in that system, every single motor, every single switch, whatever it is, has got the grounds have to be remade. It doesn't matter where they're at. They have to physically clean up all the grounds, put on there's some material we use called no-locks, that type of stuff, to keep it from corroding, and then retighten them and make sure that they have good continuity. Because if we're all on a common ground, if we've got no differential ground anywhere in that place, then the electrical system will work perfect. If you have a differential ground, that's when you run into trouble, and that's where people get hurt. So that's the number one goal at the end of this, is to have all the grounds redone on the entire system and all of them perfect, so that there's no potential difference between any of the grounds.
I appreciate all the hard work.
Bet.
I think you were asking additional, we'll put a preventative maintenance list together from what we've learned in a check sheet.
And we sent some people to pool school and some other stuff so that they can help with that. In the past, in the cities I worked at in the past, we had the water personnel do that as part of, because they work with the water, the chemicals and all that stuff on a regular basis. They're trained. And so they're a natural group to go to try to get the cross-training and that type of stuff in. So we'll continue to do that here, and we'll have them as, auxiliary or maintenance people to help with the pool long term. And then we'll have to come up with a protocol at the end of the year that the chemicals leave the building. And right now, they don't have any place to store anything, so that pump house becomes the de facto storage. And that's one of the issues, is that there's a lot of stuff in there that really shouldn't be in there long term. And we really need to come up with some sort of long-term storage for the stuff at the pool. And so that's probably another follow-on project, is to come up with something that supplements what we've got there. So we don't take our mechanical room and fill it full of stuff that doesn't need to be there, because it makes it hazardous to work around it in there. So that's one other thing that's a takeaway from that, is that we do need to fix the storage issue for the pool.
Thank you for bringing cavitation up, by the way.
You like that?
I love that word.
It's an 8-cylinder word. We're working our way up to 10.
It's a nasty thing.
Yes.
I have one more question too, I
Yes,
guess.
sir.
Assuming we do get these fixes in place, are we prepared staff-wise to open?
That's going to be another dragon to slay, and I've only got one sword, so that's going to have to be somebody else doing that. So the manning and staffing is a valid concern. I can't speak for Nick. I know that he has looked at it, and they have a quasi-contingency plan, from my understanding, but it's not probably going to be 100% of the hours, because you don't have enough lifeguards to do both the MAC and the community center. And so there's going to have to be some compromise possibly on either the number of guards on duty, the areas that are open of the pool, and the hours. I mean, that's just what it's going to come down to. So we're hoping that we can get a boiler in at the same time as we get the electric in, because without the boiler, that water is going to be 55 degrees till the sun warms it up. And if it's anything like it's been this month so far, it's going to take a while. So we got to get the boiler in too. So I mean, it's all these pieces got to come together. We're going to do the best we can, and cross your fingers and hope that we can get it up and running and get it ready to go. And we'll have to beg, borrow, and steal for lifeguards. And
I think
Go
ahead.
The community center board meets on Thursday, and one of their items is the aquatic center. I'll be in attendance. I'll make sure we have a discussion about staffing.
One of the biggest issues we had, Kelly, was we didn't know the longevity of getting the parts. So if we hire pool employees and then we don't ever open the pool, then we have to turn around and claim them unemployment. So we're kind of stuck between an extremely rock and a hard place. And hopefully we know maybe we get that stuff ordered, we'll know in a week and a half how fast we'll be able to get stuff, and maybe it'll help that process.
And I did think of one other thing. If we did get extra people and we didn't have the pool open, I know somebody in the room here that could probably use them in the park system
Yeah.
for additional labor. So they wouldn't necessarily be unemployed.
No,
If we're going to pay
but-
for them, we'll get some work out of them.
Yeah.
Good answer. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What about cleaning up all the metal and recoating that? Is that going to be
That'll
later?
be the follow-on project.
Okay.
And it's just the timing of trying to get all that done and have all the different contractors in the same place and everything. It didn't seem to make sense. Because we're going to do it with a dry ice blasting, there won't be any liquid residue. It'll just be whatever the remnants of the rust that come off, and maybe some paint, some of that stuff. It shouldn't be any big issue.
Okay.
And one of the things we did look at is that we're looking at specifying a NEMA Type 12 enclosure for the circuit breakers, and that is a gasketed enclosure. And to give you an idea, we looked at one down in the pump pit in the bottom down there, and when we pulled that NEMA 12 enclosure open and looked at all the connections in there, copper was perfectly clean and clear. So if something like this, if you should have, because you're going to have some chlorine get out of the water that's in there, and different, there's going to be some corrosion in that pump house. It's not going to happen in the circuit breaker panel when we're done, because it's going to be sealed up as best as we can. There'll be a slight uptick in price, but it's nothing compared to what we're going through right now. So it'd be money ahead to do something to protect the circuit breaker panels from the corrosion that exists in that room from the moisture and the chemicals.
Okay. Thank you. We'll move into item number 2. Do I have a motion to appoint Mark Ferber and Allison Nagel interim to the Park and Rec Board?
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Any further comments, discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. I see Luke.
Yep.
I see Luke is here, so we will go back up to appearances. I've had a conversation with Luke Christensen. Not the only one that I've had a conversation with. I've had 4 or 5 others about allowing chickens in town. So I will let Luke come up and,
Kind of the one that knows about the chickens.
okay.
So. All right, so yeah, we're just wanting 5 to 7 of them, just so we can get eggs from them. We've talked to all the neighbors that we've been able to get a hold of, and are more than willing to get signatures from the rest of them, and haven't had any people that have been against it at all. They'll be in a coop, so they're not going to be running around. It's just going to be hens, so no roosters. And then I do composting, so there's not going to be any smell from the manure. It's going to be gone that day, so.
Okay.
Isn't there an ordinance that forbids urban chickens?
I've been digging through the ordinance actually, and nowhere in any of the ordinances it says to ever say the word chicken. It says no fowl, and that it specifies it's like ducks, geese, and quail and stuff. But you know, I did do some digging, and you know, I know a lot of other cities do allow them, and so that's why we thought we should come in and ask, see what you guys.
For the record, I'm pro urban chicken, but for some reason I think there's an ordinance that doesn't allow it, but I don't know the process for allowing them. So go ahead, Mayor.
There is. It's in with the fowls. I've talked to Police Chief Meyer. Actually, he has looked out into Aberdeen. Aberdeen allows it. They have a very good ordinance, and if that's something we want to move on, I can have him get that finalized out to you so you guys can see it. And it does cover most of the things she was talking about, a coop, the manure, and different things. So I guess if that's something you guys are interested in, I can move that forward.
You don't already have these chickens, do you?
No.
No.
On a side note, there probably are people in town with chickens, so either way, if we're going to allow it, we need to get the ordinance in place, or we need to take care of the.
Is that something we'd have go before the planning and zoning, or what kind of timeline are you looking on these chickens?
It doesn't matter. Like, I just grew up with chickens for 20 years, and so.
Like by the end of the summer?
Preferably,
Summer?
yeah.
Yeah,
End of
just
the month?
they're a little easier to raise up by the end if we have them by the end.
Because we need to get them as chicks,
You gotta
so.
tough them up, yeah,
Yep.
for sure. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, we'll move into new business. Item number 1. Sonia, adopt resolution number 2021-13, a resolution to establish a convention center liquor license fee.
So the liquor license has already been approved. This is kind of happening backwards. When the Best Western approached us about setting up a convention center fee for their new tent, Tracy and I both looked for some information on it. I called a couple finance officers, and nobody had put it into place for these small convention centers. So we went with the standard $1,500 that we charge for a typical liquor license. The South Dakota codified law actually does have a section in there, which we found out from the city of Aberdeen, and that's what this is. It's basically $1 per capita is the minimum. You can charge more than that if you choose to as a commission. And then the annual renewal license fee is a maximum of $1,500, which is the same as the regular liquor license. But They do already have their license, the addition, and they're aware that there would be an additional fee to make it codified law.
And they had no problem paying?
They did not.
So the tent essentially acts as a convention
Yep.
center?
Yep.
That's interesting to me.
And it uses our
Not a
most
permanent
recent
establishment.
census numbers, official census numbers, so that's 2010. When the 2020 numbers come out, obviously we'll have to adjust this to meet those numbers.
So you based it on 2010?
Yep, it says the most recent certified, and they haven't come out with the new ones for 2020 yet. Or released them, I just checked the census site last week.
And they're aware that they'll have to pay the difference between the 2010 and the 2020 census?
So no, if they pay this right away, obviously it's in place already. So this is set at what that 2010 census number is, which is their initial fee. That's what they would pay right now. If they come out with that new number, obviously in the next couple days, I'm sure they'll come in right away.
And then this is a one-time fee for
Yep.
them?
Yep, this is just the initial first year fee, and then it's a renewal of $1,500, assuming that's what you want to set it at. Our other liquor licenses are set up at $1,500. If you choose to set it lower, you might get blowback from your local bars and such, but it is at your discretion.
I'll make a motion that we set the convention center liquor license fee at $1 per capita and then the $1,500 per year.
Second.
Any further comments or discussion?
Do I have to put the census data in there or not in the motion?
I'm fine, I can adjust
Okay.
the proposed one here to
Okay.
actually say $1 per capita.
Okay.
Then you wouldn't have to amend it going forward.
Not hearing any. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2. Do we have Toby on? Is he going to?
Yes.
Toby is on, yes.
Okay. Toby, we'll let you speak if you want on item number 2 or the next couple ones. Adopt resolution number 2021-14, a resolution authorizing the issuance of RD wastewater revenue bond.
Toby, we're going to turn you up just a second.
Oh, can you hear me?
Now we can.
That means the people turning me off, so that's a different welcome sign, so thank you. What we'll have here, Mayor and members of the council, is this is the formal action that really brings together the last 3 years of activity from very hard work from the staff to Banner, myself to bringing everything together where it's authorizing the USDA loans that you've been approved for. This is one of the steps. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we're getting a little echo.
Am I breaking up, Brad?
Shut that one.
Now you're better.
Grab that one right there and shut it off.
Would it be better if I dialed in versus Zoom? Is this okay?
I would let's dial in there, that might be better.
Yeah.
You
Probably should
can
dial
hear
in.
me okay?
Well, we're getting a whole bunch of reverb.
Okay, give me just a minute and I'll dial in.
Okay.
Pink Floyd song or something.
Sonia, turn your speaker down on.
That one's not even logged in.
Check. That seems to work. What's the word disconnected from there? It's muted, yeah. Yeah, I should fix it then. Hello? We got you, Toby.
Hello? Hello? Yeah, can you hear me better now, Brad? Yeah, can you hear me better now, Brad? Yeah, can you hear me better now, Brad?
It's still echoing somewhere.
Have him, Toby, I'm gonna call you on the conference room phone.
You're gonna call me?
Yes.
You're gonna call me? Okay, I'll hang up on my cell phone then, just call my cell. On my cell phone then, just call my cell.
How does this shut off?
Yeah, I don't think this is, because this just goes to recording. It doesn't play anywhere. It had to be a computer or the phone's, one of the two.
The computer has to be hooked up to Zoom though.
Yeah, my computer's not hooked up to Zoom.
Yeah, it was either the speaker here or interacting with something, and I shut the TV off, so that, I mean, shouldn't be anything coming out of
That's
it.
strange.
Hello?
Hello. Brad, can you turn on? Hold on just a second. There you go. I got it.
Okay.
We should be good because he's coming through here like he's in the room.
Is that better now?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Well, maybe to start over, hoping everybody can hear me here. What you have before you, Mayor, members of the council, is essentially a combination of 3 years of work that are condensed down into resolutions that would authorize the USDA revenue notes that have been approved from USDA 40-year financing at 1.875% fixed rate. And maybe I'll tag team this a little bit with Brad because this bounces right onto the back of the bids that we're looking at that have come in very, very well, right to with what the engineer projections are at. And maybe, I don't know, Mayor, Brad, if we want to switch into that, I can get more technical into the resolutions, or if you want me to just talk about the resolutions before you get into the bid, or I guess just a little direction from you of how you would like this handled.
We have the bids on a different, so let's just do the resolutions, Toby.
Okay. What these resolutions do then, again, is just authorize moving forward with USDA. As we've looked at it in terms of the impact and discussed in terms of the repayment, being that we're still at the front end of the construction side, we know there probably could be a chance of some change orders. We've looked at in terms of does this fit within the base fees of each individual enterprise. What we would do is the staff, myself, come back probably at the end of next year when we know more of the numbers to really dial in terms of what amount of the base fee that we use versus the surcharge. As we've discussed, everything really is fitting into within plan to the multiple spreadsheets that we've put together to what the impact of it would be within the city, because you're going to have 3 different resolutions. You're going to have your sanitary system, your stormwater system, and then which is then backed, your stormwater, which is backed by your sales tax. And so we've analyzed each revenue stream from the sales tax to being able to make payment for the storm system. We've analyzed the sanitary and what that impact will be on to that, and how some of this is going to be paid for from internal funds to the cash flow. again, are the formality to move forward with the USDA and set some parameters that we're going to fine tune as these construction costs start to get really narrowed down over the course of the construction season. And maybe Brad, I'll look to you or Sonia if there's some part that I need to go further into explanation on.
This first resolution that's on here is for the wastewater revenue bond, 3.214 million at 1.875% for 40 years, and that one is paid through the sewer surcharge.
Okay. I have a motion to adopt the resolution number 2021-14, a resolution authorizing the issuance of RD wastewater revenue bond.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any further comments or discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Item number 3, adopt resolution number 2021-15, a resolution authorizing a loan with USDA for wastewater system improvements.
This is essentially the same as the prior resolution. It's just the USDA version that needs to be out in their format.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Any further comments, discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Item number 4, adopt resolution number 2021-16, a resolution establishing a sewer surcharge for sewer system improvements.
So this is the piece that will pay for the previous resolution that you just approved. It allows up to a $6 surcharge that is built into the base rate, so it's not like our current base rate is suddenly going to go up $6. $6 is the maximum that you can approve for that surcharge, but it's built to be taken out of our current base rate, so it's not in addition to.
So in this case, the current base rate for residential is $22.50, and we take the maximum of $6 out of it, then that would leave $16.50 that would still go to the general operation of the sanitary sewer system. Commercial is $45. Take the $6 out, you'd still have $39 going towards the normal operation of the sewer system. So it's not something that's going to completely handicap us or anything like that. We have enough funding left over to continue to operate the systems and make improvements.
When's the surcharge supposed to start?
We can start it any time after the approval of the resolution. It'll take a minor rate change ordinance to put it into effect, but we have to have the resolution in place in order to establish how we plan to pay back the loans in order for RD to approve it. So we have to have the resolution tonight. We'll then have to back this up with a rate change ordinance at some time in the future when we want to start collecting that money.
That's typically 3 to 6 months or so before the improvements are finished.
We can do that, or we can, and one of the nice beauties that we have right now with the way our funding is set up and the amount of cash that we have in both the water, the sanitary sewer, and actually the general fund for the most part, is that we can do some delay, if you will, of having to collect the surcharge if we want, because we do have enough cash to cover any overages or anything up to a point. And so then, depending on when, as we're going through this construction project, we'll have to make a judgment call. When's the right time to start collecting that? As we collect it, we'll reduce the amount of cash that's going into the sewer system that we can use for overages and improvements along the way. And so we'll have to make that judgment call as we go along. We felt that because of the low cost of interim financing that we have, we got a great interest rate on interim financing and a really good rate on our long-term financing, that we wanted to try to utilize that as much as possible, reserve our cash for the out years when we still have some bonds that we have to pay down outside of the RD project, and we still want to make some improvements. Our intention is that after the RD project is done, that we still want to do close to a mile, or as much as we can, close to a mile of water and the associated sewer that goes with that every year. And so that's the plan. So we want to try to keep enough cash on hand that while we're paying some of these bonds down until they expire, that we can continue to make those improvements during those next 5 to 7 years that we have those bond payments left on other bonds. Once those fall off, then we should have no problem making those payments with, making the improvements with our cash on hand. So we had to have a little surplus cash to do that. So we wanted to wait till the end of the project, realize our actual cash position, realize our actual loan costs, and make a determination of whether or not we apply some of that cash towards the principal after we close on the loan and reduce our principal, or if we want to carry the cash forward and use that to do projects and make improvements on the systems as we go along. But we have options, and that's the great news. We didn't want to start today and shoehorn the city into one, only one option. So that was the idea of this. But we have to have this resolution in place to get the approval of rural development.
Makes sense.
We do currently our Lewis and Clark bond. That one will be paid off this year. And then the aquatic center bond will be paid off next year. So we'll have about $450,000 that will come off of our current debt.
And then the water system has one that comes off in like 27.
Electric comes off in 2025, and then
the water treatment plant, was it?
Yes, water treatment comes off in 2029, and another one in 2028.
So that's where we have to have that cash carry us through this next 5-6 years to where we can pay off the rest of those bonds, and then the cash will come back up after we get those, and we'll be able to continue with our improvements. So that was the thought process, is we had to have that gap financing between when we close on the rural development note and when we pay off the other bonds.
Very clever, Mr. Lawrence, thank you. Great explanation, too.
Basically, it's the same thing we did with the water last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
So is that number 4?
Yes.
Make a motion to adopt resolution number 2021-16, a resolution establishing a sewer surcharge for sewer system improvements.
Second.
Any further discussion? Questions? Not seeing or hearing any. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Item number 5, adopt resolution number 2021-17, a resolution authorizing the issuance of RD storm sewer sales tax revenue bond.
This is a $3.434 million bond at, again, 1.875% for 40 years. This one is paid via sales tax instead of a surcharge. Storm sewers don't have their own funding source.
Do you have anything to add, Brett? How about you, Toby? Anything to add on that?
No, very straightforward, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 2021-17, a resolution authorizing the issuance of RD storm sewer sales tax revenue bond?
So moved.
Second.
Any further comments, discussion? Hearing any? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Item number 6, adopt resolution number 2021-18, a resolution authorizing a loan with USDA for storm sewer facility improvements.
That's just like the one that you approved initially. This is just the USDA version of the same resolution on their format.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments, questions? Not hearing any? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Item number 7, adopt resolution number 2021-19, approve legal service agreement.
This one here is the agreement for bond counsel from Todd Meyerdy. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly. For the sales tax revenue bond. I think they've already done a lot of work on this. I think we probably should have approved this agreement maybe a little while ago, but that's what's before you now.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2021-19, approve legal services agreement.
Second.
comments, questions? Not hearing any? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8, authorize the mayor to sign legal service agreement, Meyer Henry Sargent LLP.
Just telling the mayor to sign what you
I'll
just
make a
approved.
motion to authorize the mayor to sign legal service agreement, Meyer Henry Sargent LLP.
I'll second that.
Any comments? Not hearing any? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Item number 9, authorize the mayor to sign placement agent agreement, Collier Security LLC, wastewater sanitary sewer system improvement and storm sewer system bond series 2021.
Joey, did you want to talk about this one?
Well, that's the most important one, obviously. That's just my agreement, Mayor and Council, really for the past couple years' worth of work. It's been incorporated into the USD financing as a whole. And so that's it. It's not a end all to be all by any means. You know, whatever project comes up or whatever help you need, I'm always there to help. So it just makes my compliance people feel happier when we've got agreements in place.
Okay, thank you, Toby. I have a motion to authorize the mayor to sign placement agent agreement, Collier Security LLC, wastewater sanitary sewer system improvement and storm sewer system bond series 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments, discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Toby. Are you going to stay on for the bid, awarding the bids, Toby?
I certainly can, Mayor.
Okay. We also have Dennis from Banner. Item number 10, review and award bid Madison Water System Improvement, bid schedule 1, phase 2, base bid A, and that was the lowest bid to Helmies Inc. In the amount of $5,949,410.75.
No, we can't hear him.
I can hear you guys really well.
Okay.
Do you have your microphone on? On your computer.
On you.
Mute yourself. Or does that knock this one off? No?
Brad, when you were getting buttons earlier, when the phone would turn red or the speakerphone would turn red, you guys would mute yourself. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, in duplicate.
In duplicate, okay.
Muting him.
Or just mute us while he's talking.
Yeah.
Did you want me to call in?
That would,
Well, we got Toby on.
yeah, we can probably hang up on Toby if you want to call in.
You are on mute.
I can drop off then.
I am, but she's not.
You can call in. I'll give you the number.
Did you want me to try the one that you put on the chat board?
Yeah, that's the number that calls right to me. Here.
I'll drop off then, Sonia.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you, Toby.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep.
Okay, can you hear us okay?
I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me now?
We can, perfectly, thank you.
Good, thank you. So, you know, Brad will be able to add some additional detail to this. You know, we're going to go through 3 different
award recommendation letter tonight. It's the continuation of the project, and there's a reason why we broke it up, but we'll just go through one by one here as you have presented in the agenda. And as the mayor had indicated, this first one is referred to as bid schedule 1. And essentially what it is, it's the first bid opening that we had. And it's for, surprisingly, the phase 2 portion of the project, which would be the portion of the project that is on the east side of town. Just for everybody that's been involved in the project for a long time, there were 4 bids that were opened, and they ranged from that $5,949,410.75 all the way up to $7,682,600.72 as presented in the letter. Prior to the bid opening, we did a quantity takeoff and put together what is called a pre-bid opinion of cost. And based on that, based on previous projects or local projects looking at bid prices, we had an opinion of cost for the project at just slightly over what the low bid was. And that opinion of cost was $5,973,774. Looking at the bids, looking at the comparison of the low bid relative to what our opinion of cost was, it appears that we had a very good, very good bid opening. Halmy is the apparent low from Lake Norden, South Dakota. The city does have familiarity working with Halmy. They did work on, Brad, correct me if I'm wrong, with Washington Ave. Is that correct?
We work with them on Washington and then also on Division.
Okay. So they are a contractor that you're familiar with. And then as a continuation of the letter, as we did with the Phase 1A, we broke down using the information that we had from Phase 1A, where we separated out the approximate cost by fund, water, street, storm, sanitary. When I say fund, I do understand street and storm are general fund dollars, but based on those 4 items, we presented the approximate. I say approximate because this is all based on unit price bids. This is Halmy's bid evaluated by those 4 separate funds.
And Dennis, I'll go through what's in the packet for everybody because it's going to be the same for each one. So the first thing you'll have on this item is going to be the letter, the recommendation. And in that's going to have the bids, the bid amounts that's recommended, and also the breakout as Dennis just talked about. The next page that you go to will be the map that shows the location of the projects. The next page is your bid tab, I believe. Yep, that's the bid tab. And then the final piece that's in each one of these was the engineer's opinion of probable cost. And so that's the 3 things. There are 4 things you're going to have in each one of these as we go along. So if you got any questions, that's where you can refer to them. And our recommendation would be to award this project to Halmy Incorporated from Lake Norden.
Contingent, and we have to be
Yes.
careful, Brad, we
Yep.
do have to indicate
Contingent.
contingent upon RD concurrence.
That is correct.
So, do I have a motion to review and award bid to Halmy for the Madison Water System Improvement Bid Schedule 1, Phase 2, Base Bid A on RD approval?
So moved.
I'll second.
Is there any other more comments or discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Item number 11, review and award bid to the low bidder of Helmies for the amount of $485,009.90 for the Madison Water System Improvement Bid Schedule 2, Phase 2, Base Bid B, Water Tower Loop Line.
Thank you, Mayor. This project is just as it says, it's the tower loop line. And so the importance of this project is when the tower was relocated from its present location, or I should say the new tower, with the new tower being constructed in an alternative location based on the analyses that we did almost, I don't know, probably been almost 2 years, recommending the new tower be constructed in the industrial park. The tower loop line was part of that discussion, how best to handle that. And what that is the loop line is just as it says. It's approximately, I think, 4,500 plus, I could be off a couple hundred feet, approximately 4,500 feet of 12-inch line. And its purpose is to tie the tower back into the distribution system at 2 points. And there's been a lot of discussion about this. This is also a line that we've talked about for future industrial use. We talked about recovering costs for this line from future industry, if at all possible. But nonetheless, it is a critical part and a necessary part of the project. And again, prior to the bid, we had put together an opinion of cost based on what we had seen for current bid prices on the unit cost. Our opinion of cost was $454,625. There were 6 bids. They ranged from $485,009.90, so just slightly above $30,000 above what we had for an opinion of cost, all the way up to $582,910.40. So with the 6 bids at that tight of a range, 6 bids all within $100,000, we feel that the low bid of $485,009.90 by Halmy is an accurate representation of the cost of the project. And in looking at this, with Halmy being the apparent low on bid schedule 1, they're also apparent low on bid schedule 2, so we would be able to continue working with that singular contractor on these 2 projects.
Did you have anything, Brad?
I was going to mention that our intention was to come up with some formulaic way to recoup cost. This improvement is going on LAIC property, on an easement on LAIC property. The original intention was for them to help foot some of the bill. At this point in time, we're going to foot 100% of the bill, and then we'll look at doing a recuperation of those costs through a tap fee when anybody wants to tap on the side of the line. So we are going to have some mechanism to recoup a portion of those costs. Obviously, a fair amount of this was doing good for us, so we want to pay for that part. But obviously, it's going to do some good for LAIC in the future, and they need to pay their fair share of that when the time comes.
And they are aware of that.
They're aware of it, and there's no issues. It's just something that's in the future. We can't predict it right now exactly what it's going to be, and so we'll have a mechanism to collect that in arrears.
Thank you, Brad.
And just to add on to that, Brad, just as a reminder, this was one project, the Tower Loop Line, was always something that we had planned on funding with local dollars, not,
right.
There was a time that we thought we wanted to try to recover it through RD, but it was not written into the final RD agreements.
I'll make a motion to review and award bid Madison Water System Improvement, bid schedule 2, phase 2, base bid B, water tower loop line to Halmy Incorporated in the amount of $485,009.90.
Contingent.
Was I supposed to say contingent on RD approval?
Yes.
You were so close.
Second.
Do I have any other comments or discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Item number 12, review and award bid to the lowest bidder, which was J&J Earthwork, for $3,100,048.70 for Madison Water System Improvement, bid schedule 3, phase 1B, base bid and bid alternate 1 and 2.
At $33.1 million is just the base bid.
That's just the base bid.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'll let Dennis talk about the alternate.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
Now, this is one that's going to require a little bit more discussion than the previous two. So, as this said, this was bid Schedule 3. And Phase 1B, showing in the map that was included, the importance of this is Phase 1B is the western portion of this project, on the west side of town. It is also directly north and abuts the ongoing Phase 1A project. So there's no surprise with that being said. The Phase 1A contractor is currently J&J Earthworks. So with this bid opening, we had a total of 5 bids. And again, prior to the bid opening, our engineer's opinion of cost was $3,101,513.10, and for the base bid. And the bids ranged from $3,100,048.70 all the way up to $3,787,302.03. So again, we had 5 bids, all ranged within about $690,000 of one another. Very close, very, very close to our opinion, pre-bid opinion of cost for the base bid. Now moving on to the bid alternates. So going back, a couple years in history, with the water system facility, or the water system PER that was written, that started this project many years ago, which would have been, I can't remember if it was 19 or 18 that it was written. I want to say it was 2019. But in 2019, one of the things that was done at that point in time was, because of the way RD funding is set up, you have access to the loan dollars, and you have to expend those loan dollars before you get access to the grant dollars. So in the event that we were forward thinking enough that in the event that bid prices came in, or the project cost came in under what we had planned in the PER, all the dollars that get turned away would have been grant dollars. So working with the city, working with RD, the PER had a couple bid alternates that were included in the PER that were there that would allow us to bring them into the project, add them in as part of the project to ensure that we spend down the funding package, most importantly, spending down the grant dollars that they had provided to you. So what we had done is we designed bid alternate 2 and bid alternate 1 that we'll talk about here. But bid alternate 2 is also shown on the map. And bid alternate 2, I have to look at my phasing plan here. Yes, bid alternate 2 is the work that we discussed on 5th Street. In the PR, it's referred to as one half of the alternate, but it is the work on 5th Street. It's approximately 4 blocks long that city staff felt was in greatest need of work should we have money left over. And that, again, 5 bids, that had a pre-bid opinion of cost of $1,042,543.50. And the 5 bids ranged from the $958,923 all the way up to $1,141,485.85. Moving on, I'll just talk about the alternate 1 as well. Kind of the same situation. Alternate 1 was an alternate that was part of the PER. Total of 5 bids. The pre-bid opinion of cost for that was $823,854, and the 5 bids ranged from $795,227.85 all the way up to $945,792.37. So again, the bids here, all J&J Earthworks is the apparent low. There was a lot of discussion because you could look at it that the alternates, while they were part of the PER, they were intentionally excluded from the funding package. So those dollars, previously we had called them unfunded dollars, but the whole purpose of that was to be able to, again, bring in additional work in the event that the project came in under budget. Well, that was fortunately what happened. After the bid opening for the 3 schedules, Brad and Toby and I went through the project cost and funding summary sheet that I know we've talked about for years here now, and looked at not only how the project performed as a whole, relative dollars, but how the project dollars came in with respect to water, with respect to streets, sanitary, and storm. And based on the analysis, we had set, not only from the PERs, but the cost and funding summary sheet is what we used working with Toby, and that sheet was set November 13th of 2019. And everything that we looked at, we analyzed here based on the bid opening, was relative to that sheet. Based on that sheet, what we had planned, the project as a whole came in approximately 1.1, almost $1.2 million under budget, which meant that we needed to look at adding alternates to have access to the funding, or to the grant fund with RD. We also did some further analysis between Brad, Toby, and myself, and based on Toby's guidance, it appeared that, or based on Toby's guidance, he had indicated that, and Brad, jump in if you would please, that it would be in the best interest of the city to award both of the alternates.
That is correct, and there's some reasoning for that. Obviously, we had the budget, we had to use up all that money in order to get to the grant funds. If we didn't award both of those, we would have grant funds that went left unexpended, unaccounted for. So we had to award both of these to get all of our grant funds. In theory, we would exceed our overall budget by doing this, but we have enough money in cash, in water, to pay for this project in reserves or in cash alone. And so there's not an issue with awarding this project as far as financial reasons for the city of Madison, because we have enough cash to flow this without any issues, and we're going to gain cash in the coming years for projects while this is being constructed. So we can apply those dollars to it too. So there's not going to be any issue on a monetary standpoint to not award this. The thing that we looked at, and it's something that when we've got this low of an interest rate and we've got these good of prices, we all know that the prices are going up. Inflation's going to hit us here just directly. It already has. And we're not going to get pricing this good anytime soon, and we're not going to get financing any better than this anytime soon. And that we need to take a big a swing as we can at this to get as much work done as we can while we have these favorable terms. And anything we put off of this project is going to cost us 40, 50, 100% more in coming years. And the little bit that we might save today is going to be catastrophically more expensive down the road. So our best deal from a money standpoint is to do as much of this project as we can and get as much done. And the little bit of cash that it's going to cost us, we have more than enough in the water fund to cover it, and reserves, and in just plain cash. So there's absolutely no reason, in my humble opinion, for us not to award all of these. The second part of this is the bid alternate 2 fixes a problem child that we've had on 5th. We've had a lot of water breaks in that street, and we want to get that fixed. Bid alternate 1 is one more step towards creating a loop in town. What we're looking at doing is having a loop inside the town of increased capacity water lines. We're taking out the west tower, and this runs right past the west tower and takes it down and ties it into a large capacity line down on 2nd. The idea is we've got a large capacity line coming off the northeast tower running down 9th and comes over and comes down Union and ties in, and we create a loop basically through town with these large capacity lines that then feed the distribution system. And so that helps reduce the velocities, helps reduce water hammer, helps get to better fire flows. So this is part of creating that loop and creating this, if you will, an aqueduct inside the ring, inside the city that helps with the distribution system. It's been modeled, and everything works really good if we do this. So there's another reason for doing this. It's not just to replace the water there and to spend the money. It's so that we can improve the quality of the system from fire flow and from water hammer issues. So those are the reasons why we want to do this, in addition to the fact that we need to spend the money to get our grant dollars.
Thank you, Brad. Do I have a motion to review and award bid to J&J Earthworks Madison Water System Improvement Bid Schedule 3, Phase 1B base bid, and bid alternate 1 and 2 on RD approval.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Do I have any other discussion, comments?
Glad we're doing it. It's good stuff. Needs to happen. All worth it in the end. Thank you.
Thank you for the explanation, gentlemen.
Yeah, very much.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brad.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you very much.
Item number 13, authorize the mayor to electronically sign grant agreement FAA-3-46-0029-021-2021 Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplement Appropriation Act, CRRSA. Do you have anybody on for?
Not that I'm aware
Okay.
of. My understanding is this is just a COVID relief funds. $13,000 is the total for that grant application. And when I spoke with Tracy, their intent is to use it for fuel. That's one of their approved expenses. So just funds that don't have to come out of their normal budget.
I think the last one we got, we took it for fuel too, used it for fuel. Okay. Okay. Do I have a motion to authorize the mayor to electronically sign grant agreement FAA-3-46-0029-021-2021 Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplement Appropriations Act?
So moved.
Second.
Any further comments or discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Item number 14. Should have just stayed up here, Brad. Authorize the mayor to sign amendment number 1 to service agreement Utilismart Corporation meter data management.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is for, and we have integrations between the different vendors that we hired to do the, advanced metering infrastructure project. And this is one that in the contract, they had a placeholder for it, and it said integration with others, and it had a total of $6,000, but then it was a quantity of 0. And so then it wasn't added into the contract. After, further inspection, and we needed to, have them integrate with Acceleron, the prepay vendor, they wanted, said, gee, we need to do something about this. So we sat down and said, hey, what can you do this for really? I mean, you had 6,000 as a placeholder. What's the real number? And we negotiated, David Spiegler, Spiegler Group was there. We negotiated with the Utilismart, and they came back with a $2,000 offer, and we recommend approving that so that we can get that integration done and move forward. We are working on one other issue that I'll just let you know with the our ACS, our current vendor for the customer information services here for that, and they want money to integrate with them too. So we'll have to bring that back when we get done negotiating with them. But it's just part of this process of getting everybody to talk to each other, and it's unfortunate that this one we didn't catch. Actually, it's fortunate that we didn't catch it in the contract phase, or we'd have paid $6,000 for it. So we were able to negotiate that down. So my recommendation is that we approve it.
Okay. Do I have a motion to authorize the mayor to sign amendment number 1 to service agreement Utilismart Corporation meter data management?
Do we need to know where the money comes from?
Yeah.
We can do it out of one of two places. One, we had some contingency money left in the improvements budget. We had it in the original budget. We've been using it up a little bit by little bit because of things like the upgrade to the LTCs at the substations, and obviously this one. And I think we had to do for Avenue, we've had to do 2 The integration fees, I think those were around $6,000. So we've had little things coming out of here as we go along, but we had some money in contingency. The other deal is we do have enough cash. Also, we could take it out of cash if we'd like to, and that's probably, we're going to probably end up going to cash at some point in time on some of these charges so that we stay inside our budget if we want. At one way or the other, we can either use up all the budget and worry about it at the end and use cash, or use cash now. It's either direction works. We have in our funding resolution for electric, we have surpassed 100% of the funding required for the emergency fund, and so we have that fully funded here. We just fully funded it last year, and we have cash in excess of that, so we could use the cash, or we could use the monies left over in the improvements.
Your preference is cash?
Right now, I think that we're going to end up there by the end of this. I'm fairly certain. Just little nickel and dime things keep coming in, and there are things we have to do to continue moving this on.
What does the utility data manager do?
The way this works out, in the past, we would go out and we would read meters one time a month, and we would have one reading that you brought back to the billing system, and they worked on it and they graded the bills. When we go to the advanced metering infrastructure, we get readings every 15 minutes from every meter of every day. So now you're coming in an average month, you're bringing in this multitude, massive amounts of data. And it's actually worth something to us, but you got to have a way to process that, and that's what the meter data management system does. They'll go through, and they're working with our GIS system that we gave them our mapping. They're taking our mapping and putting it together, and they're going to be able to take all the meters and say, okay, what's the coincident peak on every single transformer in the city, and do all that analysis for us. What we have are overloaded transformers, what's underloaded, where are the trouble spots in your system, where can we do predictive analysis for failure points in the future, where do you need to make improvements. So we get quite a bit out of this when we're done, but we have to go through this process of generating this data, running it through this process that they do. That's one part of it. The other part of it is they are kind of the hub. So when we start dealing with all this data, we have a database that we have to protect. And that's what our customer information is at our billing. We want that to be that's the gold standard. Everybody else has to reference that. The intention is to bring as much of that up to Utilismart and let Utilismart move that back and forth and protect it from the customer information system so that we don't mess up that database. And so that's the idea, is that they become the hub of information. And so the primary communications is going to be from Avenue to Utilismart, and then Utilismart out to the other vendors, back to Utilismart, and then back to Avenue. There is, however, going to be one integration, which I just talked about, between Avenue and Acceleron, and that's for payments. Because they're a prepay vendor, they need to know within a short period of time when somebody's made a payment to our CIS system so that they can turn their meter back on in a timely manner. So there's going to have to be that component that has to be put in. Outside of that, we're trying to push as much as we can from our CIS to Utilismart so that we only have basically one person dealing with the database. I want to try to keep that as pure as possible so there's no 3 different versions of the database out there and everybody's saying, well, which one's the right one? It's this one. It's the only one. And so that's what we're trying to do, is protect our data and keep it as pure as possible. So I hope that answers your question.
So in layman's terms, you're just going to make us far more efficient.
I hope.
Okay.
You know, that it's kind of, you know, the thing that what scares you at night, the things you know or the things you don't know. And it's the things you don't know, and that's the things that you worry about. I mean, and so if you don't know that there's a transformer sitting out there that's completely overloaded and it's going to, you know, go down in the next day, you don't know that. And so now we're going to start knowing those things, and we'll know when we need to go out and do some preventative maintenance and do some predictive replacement. So
assuming, you know, we need to have our AMI infrastructure in place to have benefit for all 3 of these software solutions, where are we at on that?
we're in the pilot phase process right now. We've got meters installed. They're working on, we just put 3 of them on just so that they can get some initial start of the communications. Then they just transferred the first data to Utilismart today, and they're going to start doing nightly transitions. They had to do a little bit more work on their SFTP process to make sure that it was as secure as it needed to be, and they're going to start that probably, I think they said Thursday this week. They're going to start doing their nightly exports And so OATI, our AMI vendor, is going to do the nightly exports out to Utilismart, and then they'll take that information and process it every day and run it through their processes. And of course, with 3 meters, it's not going to be much. But they're going to start doing that here just, in the coming week. Once we get the pilot up and running, then we'll want to get a full-blown workout of all the different use cases. And so we're targeting right now, working with David and OATI, targeting places we want to put the meters in. And we picked up 270 meters for the pilot of single phase. They're all remote connect and disconnect. And so our intention, after some more reflection and thought, is to try to utilize those as much as possible on the areas that we have habitual disconnects. So we can, because that was the number one, if I remember correctly, that was the number one use case for payback on our AMI system. And so we want to try to get that in action as soon as we can. We went through the list of habitual disconnect locations, and we came up with 141 of them that are probably really relevant and still current right now that we want to try to target. So that's about half the meters. And some of those we won't put in right away because they're a different type of meter than what we have right now. But we're going to target as many of them as we can so that we can utilize that remote connect and disconnect to the maximum advantage. And so that's the plan right now. And that's part of our use case too. That also will help us transition into having those people that are habitually late and have their meters disconnected go on prepay and get that system up and running. So that's all part of it, and you have to have a remote connect and disconnect meter to do the prepay. So there's kind of a strategy in play, but that's the long and short of it. We do have to have everything in place as far as metering for the most part at the end of the year, because the support for our current reading system is going away along with software support at the end of the year, is my understanding. I think the guns are no longer supported, and the software is on its last year of support, and then after that there will be no more support for that. So in order to secure our income, we needed to replace our meter reading system, so that's why we started on this project. When we did our initial analysis, the AMI system by itself was a $670,000 loser over a 10-year time frame. So for the business case, the AMI was a dog. When we added in the prepay and the remote connect and disconnect, conservation voltage reduction, and everything that we've got in this thing, we went back to about just about a $1.2 million net positive over 10 years. So we treated it like a business. How can we take this infrastructure that we're putting in and utilize it to make money? And so that's what we did. And so we'll be able to hopefully, stop any future rate increases up to that amount, and maybe do even better than that. We'll have to see how time goes and if the system works as good as it says it does, and we keep our costs down.
So back to the original question, cash, you run out of cash?
Yes, sir.
You're well over me now. Did you make a motion already?
No one has made a motion. Unless you did, Commissioner Gordon.
No,
Okay.
you're right.
Okay, all right.
I didn't have one written down either, so.
It's getting a little awkward here. I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign amendment number 1 to service agreement, Utilismart Corporation meter data management for $2,000 from unobligated electric cash.
Second.
Any further comments or discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Glad we have you, Brad. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
All right, item number 15, nominate a delegate to Lewis and Clark Regional Water System Board of Directors. Mr. Comus was on the board for Madison, and when he resigned, he went off the board for Madison, so we have to nominate a delegate from the city so their board can appoint them to the board, the Water System Board. So we're here to discuss who we want to delegate that nomination to. I guess after talking with Chad and Brad, my recommendation would be Brad Lawrence.
Brad's already spinning a lot of plates for us.
And I know it was brought up. I've talked to all of you guys individually. I've had several come back with Ryan in the engineer, Ryan Haig from the engineering, our new city administrator, Jameson, and also Brad. I guess the only thing, without having us a full department up in the engineering, I'm going to be selfish, and Ryan's going to be pretty busy this summer. That's why he did. I talked to him. He did say he would take it if he was nominated and appointed. But I just feel same thing with you, Mr. Corbin. His plate's kind of full.
What's the commitment of this? I mean, do we know that?
Brad,
We meet
can
once
you?
a month.
Yeah.
Once a month. Like an all
Last
day deal?
Thursday. They meet it
They
in the
usually-
afternoon.
Afternoon.
Unfortunately, the people we will put on this are going to be extremely busy. I mean, that's just on the unfortunate side of it.
I think any three that he mentioned are all busy in our own way. Long-term, it seems like it's worked well with the city engineer in that position, especially since Chad was here for such a long time. If we decide if the commission decides to fill that position again, it probably makes sense to have that person continue to fill that, and that would take one thing back off of Brad's plate. But I think there's pros and cons for any of those. I think that speaking with either of them, all of us are willing to serve if you would like us to.
Anyone thought about leaving Chad on there?
Can we do that?
We could.
And we're going to get into the engineering department next week.
Yes,
Commission.
we are going
Do we have to make this appointment tonight?
They would like to, they need to know by the 21st so they can put it on the June meeting. Is that correct, Brad?
Yes.
The 21st of May, like this Friday.
Yes.
Perfect.
That's why I was kind of pushing it last week, but we have plenty of time. Unless one of you guys would like to.
Thank you.
Okay.
I don't know how much value. I'm of no value to that for.
Brad, do you have any reservations about?
You look excited.
No, there are emails and stuff, and it's a little bit busier right now. It's a little busier right now. I've been doing the emails, in Chad's absence with Troy Larson, and the main reason it's busy right now is because they're looking at the additional capacity improvement at the plant, and so there's been more emails. Otherwise, it's going to be a little bit quieter, but they do have construction emails that come out, but it's not a real high volume right now, even with the construction that's going on and the expansion discussion. So I think the busiest day I had was 6 emails. And that was because there was a bunch of changes to not a bunch, but a fair number of additions and changes to the agreement for expansion that they wanted to talk about. So,
Do we have to appoint an alternate internally in the city at all? Like if we appoint Brad, can we have a backup or not? For our own sake, like.
I think you could for your own sake.
So Brad, if Brad gets overwhelmed, can we hand it off to somebody else?
Actually, I think the way it was worked out, and the only reason why I know is Chad was gone. I went and filled in.
This is what if we're going to appoint Brad, I would really like to have Ryan be the alternate. So, 3 or 4 years, if you decide, hey, I'm going to retire, we've got somebody on staff that can then absorb this and take over and go. So we don't have to keep doing this. I'm just looking long term more than right in the now. And I just don't want you to become overwhelmed. That's the big
Right.
Because we have plenty of things going on between water projects and, you know, the AMI and all those other things. I personally would be more comfortable with Ryan, knowing that we're gonna go with a different direction in the engineering department. Maybe we're gonna hire an engineer, we don't know what that looks like, but that's just me.
Can we make it an interim?
I would say if you wanted to
For, I
change
mean,
it,
even when we appoint Ryan for a year, and then in that phase, we get let's say we hire an engineer, and they can have a discussion on horse trade positions, I guess.
And when I reach out to Troy, I can ask him that. Would you know, Brad?
As far as the,
If we just put him for a year till we get our engineering department,
they just need to have, they just want a representative, an official
Right.
representative to speak for the city of Madison. I don't,
Right.
whether we change, we could change one every year and rotate through.
okay.
I think that's absolutely correct.
I'm gonna make a motion, we appoint Ryan at this point. I think Brad's got plenty on his plate with AMI and water, and I think it'd be a good project for Ryan to be involved in.
Trey, any thoughts?
Everybody's busy. Okay with Ryan.
Yeah, I'm good with Ryan. I'll second that.
Okay. Any further comment, discussion?
If you weren't drinking off a fire hose right now, you'd probably look into it. But you've got enough, and he's got enough, and not that Ryan doesn't have enough, but I
Ryan
think
didn't say he was busy, so.
I guess you could put Mr. Jinx in.
Yeah.
We could have.
But I do think the transitional
Okay.
component of the
Right.
engineering department, I think, will bode well for this, in my
Okay.
opinion.
Nope, I have no problem with that, so.
The position can certainly be reevaluated
Yep.
by the city in 4 months, 6 months, or a year.
Okay.
As long as they got somebody with a pulse and a warm body.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, not hearing any more discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Public comment? Nothing, okay. Announcements. There was one announcement that I didn't get on here. I wanted to make it out for the community with Phase 1A, Part 2, Phase 1B, and Phase 2 going to all start work this summer. City of Madison will be tore up pretty good. There has been markings going on, but I just wanted to let everybody know that there are maps. The maps that were in here are also in the finance office, also in the up in the engineering department. I want to make sure everybody understands these phases are 2 years long. But if you want to stop in, get a map, you certainly can. We are having Tracy work on putting it on the website too. So everybody should know what road's going to be in a mess. Under announcement, item number 1, I just want to announce there will be a public hearing May 24th, 2021, Ordinance 1633 on the medical cannabis establishment. Did you want to add anything to that, or?
That'll be both the commission and the planning and zoning board. They'll all be here
Okay.
to start out your meeting, and then you'll go into your regular meeting after you've had that public hearing piece.
Item number 2. You want to?
Yep.
Okay.
Starting, basically from Memorial Day to Labor Day, the finance and utility billing offices are planning to go from a 7:30 to 4 for summer hours. Prior to that, it was 8 to 5. Our intent there is obviously to accommodate some flexibility, but also as we look at Tyler training and some of the things with this software upgrade, that gives us a little bit of flexibility for some of those training pieces. It also ties in a little bit more with MMU and the hours that they work in.
Also, utility billing, the bill actually says your bills are due by 5 o'clock, you will not be penalized, until after the next day.
Right, so if you drop your bill in the drop box between 4 and 5 or 4 and 8 o'clock the next morning, you're still not gonna get penalized for, we won't process those delinquencies or late payments until after everything's been gone through. I guess. Okay.
Thank you, Adam. Any other announcements?
Welcome, Jameson.
Yep.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, welcome.
Yes.
It's been good so far, day 4, still standing, it's all good.
Okay.
Mark?
Wow, he kind of touched on that.
Did,
Yeah, just in addition to the first announcement in regards to the construction work and the R&D plan, Chief Meyer just said he was going to be a little more lenient on parking restrictions in that square, being 5th and Washington to up to 9th, and then east over to Prairie in that square. So parking restrictions will be lifted in that area.
And he'll be putting on social media blasts to help communicate that publicly.
all right. Do I have a motion to go in exec session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Brian, you got a minute? Toby Morris.